If I may, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to address in reverse order some of the statements made by Mr. Brennan. And I want to talk first about this issue of juror interference, which is what we called it. These words matter. We've claimed that there's interference. He indicates that that would be an abhorrent transgression if there were interference with a juror or a jury. We agree. It would be an abhorrent transgression. The information that we have in front of us is not the information that Mr. Brennan just recited, which is interesting. I'll get to the facts that he very dramatically stated in just a second, because this is a fact-based inquiry, one that we asked for standing right over there at sidebar and didn't get. But Mr. Brennan, with no support to back it up, and I'm going to ask a couple of pointed questions about that, recites these facts after facts after facts that he claimed absolved the Commonwealth of any transgression as it pertains to the jurors. And when I say Commonwealth, I'm talking about the Massachusetts State Police. Very clearly, in a clever, almost too cute by half argument, Mr. Brennan talks about the good court officers populating this courtroom and this courthouse, about whom we have made no allegation, no claim, nothing. We have nothing but the highest respect and regard for the men and women who wear that uniform and perform these duties. None, zero. And he knows that. But in an effort to create an enemy where there isn't one, he acts like we've insulted the court officers, which we haven't. He also said that Lieutenant Fanning stood up here and gave basically a CV, a resume for him, and said, the greatest guy on the face of the earth. I don't know Lieutenant Fanning. I don't know if he knows Lieutenant Fanning. Not really the point. It's in the personality contest. He said that we identified somebody with an unassailable reputation. We identified him. We didn't identify anybody. We were standing up at sidebar, fat, dumb, and happy, not knowing what was going to happen when somebody else identified him. Wasn't us. And by the way, everything that we filed concerning this was under seal. We didn't disclose anything in any court document. It wasn't a public document, it was under seal. Mr. Brennan then states that he was also a subject, this person with this unassailed career, was the subject of an IA investigation for his conduct on this case. It's not even about something tangential. It's about his conduct on this case, his supervisory role as it pertains to Michael Proctor and his, and I'll repeat it, disgusting conduct as it relates to my client and his text messages, etc. When he was asked about those text messages, his claim was, I was on vacation and I didn't read it. And ultimately, the Massachusetts State Police investigation cleared the Massachusetts State Police officer. We've seen that happen before. The question, or questions, if I could, that surround this inquiry, and the reason that we included it in our motion to dismiss is because it appears that Ms. Reed did not get a fair trial because of this juror's dismissal. How would the person who's unidentified, to this day unidentified, how would this person know who the juror sitting in one of these seats was if she was at a private location? I won't mention the location. How would they know? How would they know to identify her? How would they know what she said? How would they know to record her illegally, potentially, if that happened? How would they know these things? How would they know that if she was a juror, that she was a juror on the Commonwealth versus Reed matter specifically? And how would this unidentified person know of all of the authority figures to go to Lieutenant Fanning, of all people, who is then described to us after the fact as the, quote, commander of the extensive security operations that this case has required? And I went through that with the court this morning, but I just want to reiterate it one more time. Of course, it makes perfect sense that we would presume that if he's the commander, I don't think it gets much bigger than commander. If he's the commander of all security operations, he's the commander over operations that are attendant to the courts, the actual court's security, the personnel security, the party's security to whatever degree that is necessitated, but maybe most importantly, the juror's security. That is a reasonable next step to conclude, a reasonable inference from the facts that we were given. But we do know this. He was this same Fanning that was just randomly picked to go report this to, was also the person that was in Ms. Reed's house seizing her phone just months before the trial. He's also the person that was interviewing witnesses or supervising the interviews of witnesses in this trial. He was also the person that was on the text messages between Proctor and his buddies at MSP talking about her and trying to find nudes. We know all of that existed. And yet we were denied an opportunity, Your Honor, an important opportunity to simply inquire before this juror was dismissed. That's all we asked. Let's get Lieutenant Fanning in here. Let's find out what the source of this is, and let's figure out, is it even remotely true? Remember, the juror never said it was true. But lo and behold, minutes before I stood up to give my summation, that juror is removed. That's the problem. This isn't about court officers and besmirching court officers' reputations. That's not what this is about. This is about what happened at sidebar in the matter of minutes that denied Ms. Reed her constitutional right. There's a couple of other points that I just want to make. Mr. Brennan started his comments by talking about the Sallyport video and how unimportant it is. How unimportant that video is. I'm not going to go through all my points again. The court doesn't need to hear that. But I do want to make this point. He says it's not important. There was nothing to see here. We don't pull videos normally. Yeah, of course you don't pull Sallyport videos if you're investigating a bar fight. This was the purported murder weapon. This truck is the thing that the Commonwealth suggests was used to kill a cop. You think the video of it being pulled into the Sallyport might be of some evidentiary value? I don't know. Can't imagine why that would be important. Can't imagine why that might have some evidentiary materiality. But I do know this. I do know this much. One guy who thought it was important, the lead investigator, he pulled it all of it. He was super convinced it was important. And he's the guy that once pulled it, hid it from us for nearly 3 years. Mr. Brennan spent some time talking about the difference between cracked and missing. Interesting point. Now, I'm not going to go through a bunch of videos and audios. The court has seen all the pictures and photographs that it needs to see, and the court has a very, very good memory. We've never, ever disputed that the light was cracked at 5:07 or so a.m. That's how it got cracked, is the point. It got cracked on that traverse. And a piece was missing. A piece was missing. Not according to me, according to another agency's sergeant, Barros, who said a piece was missing, but it wasn't completely damaged. Recall that when that light was completely reconstructed with the 46, 47 pieces that were purportedly found, well, they were found at or near 34 Fairview, and then they were reconstructed. Does the court recall what that reconstruction looked like? That taillight was put together almost in its entirety, almost, except a piece was still missing. It was a piece unaccounted for. There's a big difference between a crack and the condition of that taillight, which we've now seen, where literally the entire lens material is basically gone. There's a few shards left on some edges, but the entire lens is basically gone. So yeah, it's relevant and it's exculpatory. The condition of that light when it pulled into the Sallyport driveway. And with regard to the inverted video, again, Mr. Brennan says there's nothing to see here. We've got inverted videos dating back days earlier. Then why, if that's such common knowledge, then why did Mr. Lally and Sergeant Buchnick in front of a jury present that video as a true and correct presentation of what that car looked like and where that car was? Mr. Lally actually asked the question. I don't have a page in sight now. I remember it because I was sitting here. He asked the question, did you see Mr. Proctor? It was something, I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of, did either you or Trooper Proctor approach that right passenger taillight? And the answer was no. Because on the video that was being played, it looked like the right passenger taillight was the one closest to the jury. And of course, Trooper Proctor walked right around that and went over to the other taillight. Except when you reverse it, you realize that's the right taillight.
Is there a copy of the reverse, the one that you played? Is that in the exhibits for today's motion?
No. The one that's been corrected?
Yes. I'd like a copy of that.
I don't think I have. Sure. We can get that for the court immediately. Also, he played a video of the grainy video showing, hey, look, some of these cameras are just grainy in other particulars as well at other times and places. Maybe, or maybe not. What's interesting is the grainy video that we saw, if my memory serves me, and it's my memory and it's being taxed at this point, but my memory is the chyron on that video, in other words, the running numbers, was at the bottom. Yet the video he just played is at the top. That's the exact same video. If it's apples and apples, oranges and oranges, why is that different? That's interesting. And with regard to Ms. Reed's actual statements in that interview that was played, or I'm sorry, it wasn't played, it was recited. She said, some of the red plastic is missing. Some of the red plastic is missing. In other words, a piece is missing. It's completely consistent with the condition of that taillight before it was at the Sallyport. With regard to the facts that were recited by Mr. Brennan at the very end, every one of those is unsubstantiated. How does he know all that information? Who has he been talking to? And why don't we know about it? If in furtherance of this motion, there was an interview done of Lieutenant Fanning that laid out all of this information about not having contact with jurors and not doing this and not doing that, but yes, doing this and that and the other thing, why is the first time I'm hearing about this when he stands up and tells us? That has been the pattern of this Commonwealth's presentation to this court and in front of the jury consistently. That is the punctuation mark at the end of the sentence. Why am I just now getting that? Why wasn't that appended to his motion? Was there a conversation Mr. Brennan had with Lieutenant Fanning that we need to know about? This is exactly why, Your Honor, exactly why. If this court is not inclined to dismiss this case, and it should, the maladies of the Brady concerning the Brady violations and the discovery violations are so manifold in this case. They cannot, it's
that I stood up in rebuttal and said that it was in court advocating for my client. He then said court TV is not a courtroom.
So before you go further,
Yes.
I don't know if Mr. Brennan was going to give me a court TV site on that. Is
Right.
there one, Mr. Brennan?
I'll have to provide a video. I think that Mr. Yannetti is referring to that comment that was a court comment. And so I intend on remedying that record. There was also a conversation after with court TV.
All right, so provide it to Mr. Yannetti. Mr. Yannetti, I'll give you an opportunity to respond once you get that. But go ahead, you can tell me what you want to tell me now.
Right now, it's out in the court of public opinion that I made this extrajudicial statement. I said specifically I did not. He contradicted me, and that's where we left it. And he said that he would produce the receipts. Now he's admitting he does not have the receipts. There was no court TV interview where I said anything of the sort. That was a Zoom hearing, excuse me, where I was arguing before Your Honor. I would just note, Your Honor, I don't think it makes sense that Mr. Brennan would have done this on purpose because it was so easily disprovable. It's troubling that he would make this damaging accusation without properly vetting it to see if it is true before he attacks opposing counsel. So that was disappointing to me. And I would just point out, and again, I only need 30 seconds, that
You can take your time, Mr. Yannetti. You're not going to be
well, we're all
35 minutes.
right. I certainly will not be. This new false allegation comes after my colleague, Mr. Alessi, co-counsel, Mr. Alessi, on February 25th, detailed 9 or 10 false statements that Mr. Brennan has made to this court. And I want to make it clear, I don't need an apology from Mr. Brennan. I don't expect one, but I think perhaps he should apologize to the court. He said today, a lie unchecked becomes the truth. And I just would hope, Your Honor, that you hold Mr. Brennan to the same standard that you hold the defense team. And that's it.
I certainly do. So, Mr. Brennan, if you do not have a site, then I need you to let us all know that as well.
I will. It's convenient to retort that there were 10 lies by the court that Mr. Alessi lined up. In fact, I looked at the transcripts. Some of his suggestions that I didn't read the paperwork properly were just wrong. I didn't try to shame him today. It was part of advocacy, and I accept that. There was a conversation, and if you remember, when I related Ms. Yanetti's remarks, it wasn't in relation to 3.6. It was in relation to the fact that they were using the federal investigation to create innuendo that could not be responded to. But I will provide.
Or your request for the gag order? In support of your argument for the gag order?
In response to how they had used federal materials that were under seal that couldn't be rebutted to make suggestions. It directly related to that point, not 3.6. But I will provide the videos. Mr. Yannetti is right that the exact statement that I used was from a court hearing, but then there were subsequent statements made. And so my regrets to Attorney Yannetti, but it wasn't in fashion of a 3.6 violation. That wasn't the intention. It was to show how they've used these federal materials before the case was closed to their advantage.
All right. So if you have the site, I'll give you until tomorrow afternoon to find the Court TV site.
Very well.
If you have it, supply it to all, Mr. Yannetti. So I'm ordering the Commonwealth if they have that Court TV site to provide it to all of us. And if you don't, provide that as well. Provide
Very
that
much
information.
appreciate it.
as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's it for today.
All right, support, please.
You are muted.
Hey there, thanks for stopping in. We hope you will join us again. We all look forward to next time. We get to talk about true crime. Clues. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule and the defense rests. Our true crime family is great. All types of topics we debate. Smash that like and ring that bell. Hit subscribe, you might as well.